The massive alien warship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a wounded animal. Its sleek purple hull, usually gleaming with pride, now bore ugly scars across its surface. Emergency lights flickered weakly along its sides as it limped toward humanity's premier repair station, the orbital wrench. Tom Reynolds stood at the main viewport, his weathered hands pressed against the reinforced glass. 20 years of fixing everything from simple satellites to complex space stations hadn't prepared him for this sight. The alien vessel was easily 3 times the size of the largest human ship ever built. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered, watching as the station's tractor beams guided the damaged ship toward the main dock. "Bill, get the team ready. This is going to be interesting." The ship's captain, Admiral Vale of the Centauri Alliance, stood tall despite his obvious worry. His metallic skin reflected the station's lights as he walked down the boarding ramp to meet Tom and his team. 4 arms crossed over his chest in what humans had learned was a gesture of respect. "We require assistance," Vale said, his translator struggling with the formal tones of his native language. "Our own repair stations are too far, and your facility was the closest option." Tom nodded, already walking around the ship's exterior, his experienced eyes taking in every detail. He stopped at a particularly nasty gash in the hull, reached out, and placed his palm flat against the metal. The alien crew watched in confusion as he closed his eyes, feeling the vibrations. "Your quantum drive is out of alignment," Tom said, opening his eyes. "It's causing microfractures throughout the hull. That's why your emergency systems are failing one by one." He knocked on the metal with his knuckles, listening to the sound. "And you've got cavitation in your coolant system, probably from pushing the engines too hard while they were damaged." Admiral Vale's secondary eyes widened in surprise. How did you know this? You haven't even used any diagnostic equipment." Tom pulled the simple wrench from his tool belt and tapped it against the hull in several places, listening carefully each time. "Don't need to, not yet anyway. Been fixing things since I was old enough to hold a screwdriver. Some things you just learn to feel." The Admiral's crew gathered closer, their own repair technicians watching with a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. Their culture relied heavily on advanced AI diagnostics and standardized repair procedures. This human's approach seemed primitive, yet somehow he had identified problems their own systems had missed. "Bill," Tom called out to his assistant, "get the sonic mapping unit. I want to see what's happening inside these hull plates. And tell Maria to fire up the metallurgy lab. We're going to need to analyze this alien alloy." As his team sprang into action with practiced efficiency, Tom remembered the day humans first made contact with alien life. Everyone had expected Earth to be primitive compared to spacefaring civilizations. In many ways, they were right. Human ships were slower, their weapons less powerful, their AI less advanced. But humans had something unique. They kept fixing things. While other species developed disposable technology and automated repair systems, humans never lost their touch for hands-on repairs. They kept teaching their children how to use basic tools, how to understand machines through sound and feel, how to improvise when the right parts weren't available. "Admiral," Tom said, pulling out a tablet to sketch his repair plan, "we'll need about 3 days to fix your ship, maybe 4 if we run into surprises." He looked up at the towering alien. "And trust me, there are always surprises." Vale's translator crackled as he responded. "Our own estimates suggested at least 2 weeks of repairs." Tom just smiled and patted the ship's hull. "Well, that's why you came to us, isn't it? Even if you didn't know it yet." He turned to his team and raised his voice. "All right, people, let's show our guests how we do things on the orbital wrench." The alien crew watched in fascination as human engineers swarmed over their ship like skilled ants, each knowing exactly what to do without complex AI guidance. They didn't realize it yet, but they were about to witness why human repair stations would soon become legendary throughout the galaxy. Maria wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the alien metal under her microscope. The purple-tinted alloy had properties she'd never seen before, but that didn't stop her from grinning. She'd been Tom's apprentice for 3 years, and he taught her the most important rule of repair work. Everything can be fixed if you understand how it works. Tom, she called out, not taking her eyes off the sample. You need to see this. The metal. It's like it's alive. Tom walked over, his boots making hollow sounds on the metal floor. He'd just finished mapping the damage to the alien ship's hull, and his tablet showed a complex web of stress fractures. Looking through the microscope, he whistled softly. Well, that explains a few things, he said. The hull's not just armor, it's part of their repair system. See those tiny fibers? They're supposed to reconnect when damaged, but something's stopping them. Admiral Vale stood nearby, all four arms now hanging loose in what humans had learned was a sign of worry. Yes, that is correct. Our self-repairing hull is a point of pride for our engineers, but after the incident, it stopped working. Tom grabbed an old coffee cup from his workbench and held it up to the light. Look here, he said, pointing to a hairline crack in the ceramic. Earth scientists developed something similar about 10 years ago. Smart materials that can heal themselves. But we found out they had a weakness. He set down the cup and picked up a simple magnet. They don't work right when their magnetic field gets scrambled. Tom held the magnet near the alien metal sample, and under the microscope, the fibers began to twitch. Maria's eyes lit up. The mining crews. They use magnetic pulse arrays to break up asteroids. We could modify one to realign the hull's repair system. The alien technicians buzzed with concern, their translators struggling to keep up as they all spoke at once. One of them, a junior engineer named Rix, stepped forward. That equipment is designed for destroying rocks. Using it on our hull would be. He paused, searching for the right word. Unconventional. Unconventional is what we do best, Tom said with a smile. He pulled up the station's inventory on his tablet. Bill, get me 2 mining pulse arrays from Storage Bay 4. Maria, start calibrating them to match the hull's natural frequency. As his team rushed to work, Tom noticed Admiral Vale watching them closely. Something on your mind, Admiral. Your methods, Vale said slowly, they are not what we expected. Our repair stations have protocols, procedures, certified equipment. Yet your people, they adapt mining tools to fix warships. Tom laughed. You know why humans got good at fixing things? Because we had to. We didn't start with fancy self-repairing materials. We started with duct tape and wire. Had to learn how things worked from the inside out. The station rumbled as Bill's team moved the massive mining equipment into position. Maria had already modified the control systems, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she fine-tuned the magnetic pulses. Ready, she called out. Starting at 10% power. The pulse arrays hummed to life, sending invisible waves across the alien ship's hull. Under the inspection cameras, thousands of tiny fibers began to realign themselves. The ugly stress fractures started to fade as the smart metal remembered its original purpose. Admiral Vale's secondary eyes blinked rapidly. Impossible, he muttered. Our best repair stations said the damage was too severe. Nothing's impossible, Tom said, watching the hull repair itself. You just need to understand the problem and be willing to try new solutions. That's the human touch. We don't just follow manuals, we figure things out. As the repair continued, word began to spread through the alien crew. They recorded everything with their personal devices, capturing the unorthodox but effective human methods. None of them realized they were witnessing the beginning of a revolution in space repair work. Later that day, as Tom watched the mining arrays slowly heal the alien hull, he got a call from station control. 3 more alien ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system, all requesting emergency repairs. He smiled and called his team together. The human touch was about to become famous across the galaxy. We've got problems, Bill said, bursting into Tom's office 2 weeks after fixing Admiral Vale's ship. Big problems. Tom looked up from his desk, where he'd been studying damage reports from the growing number of alien vessels arriving at the orbital wrench. What now? Royal ship just dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, Arcturus Empire. They're demanding immediate emergency repairs. Bill paused, wiping his forehead. And they're trailing radiation. Tom jumped to his feet. The Arcturus Empire was known for their massive ships and even bigger egos. How bad is the radiation? Bad enough that their own safety systems locked down half the ship. They got 3,000 passengers aboard, including their crown prince. The station's warning lights began flashing as the royal vessel approached. Its golden hull, typically magnificent, now glowed an angry red from heat damage. The ship was easily twice the size of Admiral Vale's vessel, with ornate spires that looked more like a floating palace than a spacecraft. "Get Maria and the team to repair Bay 1, Tom ordered, already running toward the main airlock. "And tell the medical bay to prep their radiation gear." The royal ship's captain, a tall figure covered in gleaming ceremonial armor, met them at the docking port. Unlike Admiral Vale's practical approach, this captain radiated aristocratic impatience. "You will fix our ship immediately," the captain demanded through his translator. "The crown prince cannot be kept waiting in these primitive conditions." Tom ignored the insult, his experienced eyes already assessing the damage. The ship's nuclear containment system was failing, and the backup cooling systems were offline. They had maybe 3 hours before things got really bad. "Maria," Tom called out, "get the liquid nitrogen lines hooked up to their cooling ports. Bill, start evacuating the sections nearest to their reactor." He turned to the captain. "Your ship's about to have a meltdown. We do this my way, or we don't do it at all." The captain's translator crackled with angry protests, but Tom was already moving. He'd seen this problem before, though never on such a large scale. The Arcturus Empire's ships used an exotic form of nuclear power, but in the end, heat was heat, and cooling systems were cooling systems. "But our systems are far superior to your primitive technology." The captain objected as Tom's team began connecting Earth-made cooling equipment to the alien ship. "Superior systems can still fail," Tom replied, checking the radiation readings. "And when they do, sometimes the simple solutions work best." He pointed to where Maria was rigging a manual bypass for the ship's automated cooling controls. "Your AI can't handle this because it's programmed to follow safety protocols. We're going to break a few rules to save your ship." The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. Tom's team worked with practiced efficiency, using their experience with Earth's older nuclear plants to contain the alien reactor's problems. They bypassed damaged systems, rerouted power through temporary circuits, and gradually brought the radiation levels down. The Crown Prince himself appeared as they finished the emergency repairs, his crystalline form shimmering in the station's lights. "Impossible," he said, watching the radiation readings drop to safe levels. "Our own repair stations said such damage could only be fixed in a shipyard." Tom wiped grease from his hands. "Nothing's impossible if you understand the basics. Your systems are more advanced than ours, sure. But the principles are the same: heat, pressure, power. We've been working with those since we first started building steam engines." The prince was silent for a moment. "Perhaps," he said finally, "there is something to be learned from your practical approach." Just then, station control called again. A refugee fleet was requesting emergency docking, their ships damaged by the same mysterious attackers that had hurt Admiral Vale's vessel. Tom looked at his tired team and saw them already grabbing their tools. "All right, people," he announced. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do when things get tough. We've got ships to fix and people to help." As they headed toward the new crisis, Tom noticed alien engineers from both the Centauri Alliance and the Arcturus Empire following them, tablets out, ready to learn. Maybe, he thought, this was how humanity would make its mark on the galaxy, not through superior technology, but through their stubborn refusal to give up when things broke down. The refugee fleet brought more than just damaged ships to the orbital wrench. They brought stories, and those stories painted a disturbing picture. Tom sat in the station's main conference room, looking at images from dozens of attacked vessels. Admiral Vale and the Arcturus Prince sat with him, their previous rivalry forgotten in the face of a common problem. See this pattern? Tom pointed to the damage marks on different ships. It's the same weapon signature. Someone's testing a new kind of beam weapon against different hull types. Maria burst into the room, holding her tablet. Tom, I think I found something. She laid the tablet on the table, showing microscopic images of damaged hull materials. Look at the way the metal crystallizes after being hit. It's like nothing we've seen in modern weapons. Tom picked up an old wrench from his belt and placed it on the table. Actually, we have seen this before, just not in space. He pointed to some worn spots on the wrench's handle. This tool belonged to my grandfather. He used it in old Earth factories that used plasma cutters. The metal crystallizes the same way when it cools too quickly. The alien leaders stared at the simple tool with newfound interest. You mean you've encountered such weapons before? The prince asked. Not weapons exactly, Tom explained, but similar technology. Back before we had modern manufacturing, we used high-energy plasma to cut metal. It was dangerous, unpredictable. We had to learn how different metals reacted, how to prevent damage from spreading. He smiled. That's humanity's secret weapon. We remember our history. Admiral Vale's translator crackled. But surely advanced technology is superior to such basic knowledge. Tom stood up and walked to the window, watching repair teams work on the refugee ships. You know why humans are good at fixing things? Because we never threw away our old tools. While other species rushed to automate everything, we kept teaching our kids the basics. He pointed to where Maria was showing a young alien engineer how to use a simple welding torch. Look there. Your automated repair systems are amazing, but they can only fix what they're programmed to fix. Humans, we can figure out new problems because we understand how things work from the ground up. The prince's crystalline form shifted colors as he considered this. Our repair stations have failed because they cannot adapt to this new weapon. But your people, we adapt, Tom finished. We've had to. Earth's history is full of different technologies existing side by side. We still fix old cars while building quantum computers. We keep the knowledge of how to work with basic materials even as we develop new ones. Maria called out from the repair bay. She'd modified an old Earth scanning technique to detect microscopic damage in the alien hulls, something their advanced sensors had missed. The aliens watched in amazement as she used this primitive method to find hidden weak points their own systems couldn't detect. That's not just repair work, Tom explained. That's problem solving. Understanding why things break, not just how to fix them. It's what happens when you keep your old skills while learning new ones. The station's alert system suddenly blared. Another damaged ship was approaching, this one with technology neither the Centauri Alliance nor the Arcturus Empire recognized. Tom grabbed his tool belt, already heading for the door. Coming? He asked the alien leaders. You might want to see this. It's one thing to hear about the human way of fixing things. It's another to watch us solve a completely new problem. As they walked to the repair bay, Tom saw more alien engineers taking notes, watching how humans combined basic mechanical knowledge with advanced technology. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's outdated approach to repair work wasn't primitive at all. It was precisely what made them special. Time to show them what we can do, Tom said to his team, pulling out his trusty wrench. Let's see what kind of puzzle this new ship brings us. The unknown ship that arrived at the orbital wrench wasn't alone. Behind it, emerging from the darkness of space like ghosts, came 30 more vessels of different sizes and designs. Their hulls were scared and broken, their engines barely functioning. Some had to be towed by others just to keep moving. It's the lost mining fleet, Admiral Vale whispered, his metallic skin reflecting the emergency lights. They disappeared from the outer sectors 3 months ago. Tom watched as the ships limped toward the station. Each one showed signs of the mysterious weapon they'd been studying, but there was something else too. Something worse. They're not just damage, Maria said, looking at her scanner readings. They've been modified. Someone tried to merge their systems together to keep them running. The lead ship's captain, a tired-looking being with gray scales, explained through a broken translator. Their fleet had been attacked, stranded far from any repair stations. With their communications destroyed, they'd been forced to work together, combining parts from different ships just to survive the journey home. Tom walked through the ships, studying the desperate repairs the crews had made. They'd merged cooling systems from one species ships with power plants from another. Navigation computers were jury-rigged to life support systems that were never meant to work together. It was a mess of incompatible technologies, somehow forced to function. This, Tom announced to his team, is going to be our biggest challenge yet. We're not just fixing damage now. We're dealing with multiple technologies that someone's twisted together like tangled wires. The alien engineers who had been studying human repair methods gathered around. They had been skeptical of Earth's primitive approaches, but now they watched intently as Tom began breaking down the problem. First rule of fixing anything complicated, Tom said, pulling out his notebook, an actual paper notebook that made the aliens whisper in surprise. Draw it out. Map the connections. Understand the flow. His pencil moved quickly, sketching diagrams of how the different systems had been forced together. Maria caught on quickly. It's like that time we had to fix the old Russian space station module that was attached to the new Chinese carbon processor. Exactly. Tom pointed his pencil at her. When you're dealing with mismatched technology, you have to go back to basics. Forget what the systems are supposed to do. Look at what they're actually doing. For the next 3 days, the orbital wrench worked around the clock. Tom's team taught the alien engineers how humans handled incompatible systems. They showed them how to test connections with simple tools, how to understand systems by tracing power flows, how to identify what was important and what could be bypassed. Your people, the scaled captain said, watching Tom's teamwork, they don't see different technologies. They just see problems to solve. That's because we learned the hard way, Tom replied, hands deep in a tangle of wires. Earth never had one unified technology. We've always had to make different systems work together. American electronics with European power systems, old computer networks talking to new AI processors. We learned to be technology translators. The breakthrough came on the 4th day. Maria discovered a way to use basic electrical principles to create interfaces between the mismatched systems. Instead of trying to force them to become compatible, she built simple mechanical bridges between them. It's like building tiny translators, she explained to the amazed alien engineers. Each system can keep speaking its own language. We just help them understand each other. As the repair work continued, word spread through the galaxy's repair stations. Humans weren't just good at fixing things. They could make the impossible possible. They could take ships that should never have worked together and make them function as one. Tom looked at his tired but proud team, at the alien engineers now eagerly learning human repair methods, and at the fleet that was slowly coming back to life. This, he thought, is how humanity makes its mark on the universe. Not by having the most advanced technology, but by understanding how to make any technology work. 3 months after the mining fleet incident, the orbital wrench looked very different. The repair station had doubled in size, with new bays built specifically for teaching. Aliens of all species crowded the corridors, carrying human-made tools alongside their advanced technology. Tom stood in the new training center, watching as Maria taught a class of alien engineers. On her workbench sat a collection of Earth tools, wrenches, multimeters, and hand welders, next to complex alien diagnostic devices. Today, Maria announced to her eager students, "We're going to learn why sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution." She held up an old oscilloscope. "This might look primitive to you, but it can tell us things your quantum scanners might miss." The alien engineers, once skeptical of human methods, now took detailed notes. Among them sat representatives from the Arcturus Empire, their crystalline forms glowing with interest, next to Centauri Alliance technicians whose metallic skin reflected the workshop lights. "Look at this," Tom said to Admiral Vale, who had become a regular visitor to the station. They watched as an alien student successfully diagnosed a power fluctuation using nothing but a basic multimeter and his sense of hearing. 6 weeks ago, he would have spent hours running AI diagnostics. Now he can spot the problem in minutes. "We were wrong," Vale admitted, his translator carrying a note of respect. "We thought progress meant replacing simple skills with advanced technology. But you humans showed us that real progress means building upon basic knowledge, not discarding it." The station's alert system chimed, not an emergency this time, but a scheduled arrival. A massive ship appeared near the station, its hull decorated with the symbols of a prestigious alien engineering academy. "The first graduating class," Tom said proudly. 50 alien engineers had completed their training in human repair methods, ready to take these skills back to their homeworlds. Each one had learned not just how to use Earth tools, but how to think like a human engineer, creative, adaptable, and unwilling to give up on a broken machine. In the main repair bay, Bill was showing another group how to modify their advanced tools to work better with older systems. "Your quantum scanner is amazing," he explained, "but sometimes you need to physically feel how a machine vibrates. That's why we created this hybrid tool." The hybrid tool was a perfect symbol of what the orbital wrench had become, a place where advanced alien technology merged with practical human knowledge. The aliens had brought their sophisticated equipment, and humans had shown them how to make it more effective by combining it with basic mechanical skills. "We're getting reports from across the galaxy," Maria told Tom during their lunch break. "The engineers we trained are revolutionizing repair work everywhere. They're teaching others what we taught them, how to understand machines, not just follow repair protocols." Tom nodded, watching through the window as a newly arrived ship docked. Its crew included 3 of their former students, now running their own repair operation in a distant sector. They still came back regularly, bringing new problems and sharing new solutions. "You know what makes me proudest?" Tom said, pulling out his old wrench, the same one that had helped diagnose so many alien ships. "We didn't just teach them how to fix things, we taught them how to teach others." The station hummed with activity as another training session began. In one bay, alien engineers practiced basic welding techniques. In another, they learned how to identify problems by sound and touch, and in the central workshop, a group gathered around a holographic display showing the interior of a damaged ship. "Remember," Maria's voice carried through the station's corridors, "a good engineer isn't someone who knows all the answers. A good engineer is someone who knows how to find the answers." She smiled at her students. "That's the most important thing humans can teach you, how to never stop learning." As the day went on, the orbital wrench continued its transformation from a simple repair station into something much more important, a bridge between technologies, between species, and between different ways of solving problems. It had become a place where the galaxy's most advanced civilizations came to learn from humanity's most basic wisdom. 1 year after the first alien ship limped into the orbital wrench, Tom stood at his favorite viewing window, watching the busy space traffic around the station. Earth had changed in that year. Dozens of repair stations now orbited the planet, each one a center of learning where humans taught their repair methods to the galaxy. "Hard to believe it all started with a damaged warship," Maria said, joining him at the window. She wasn't just his apprentice anymore. She ran her own training program now, teaching the next generation of both human and alien engineers. "Remember what Admiral Vale said when he first arrived?" Tom smiled, reaching for his old wrench. The tool had become something of a legend among the alien engineers. Some even called it the first teacher, though Tom thought that was a bit much. He thought we were primitive because we used hand tools. A flash of light caught their attention. A new ship was emerging from faster-than-light travel, unlike anything they'd seen before. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and it moved with a grace that made other ships look clumsy. "That's the prototype," Bill said, hurrying up to them with his tablet. "The first ship built using both human and alien engineering principles. Look at the repair systems. The ship's surface rippled as it sealed small meteorite impacts automatically, but underneath the advanced technology were simple mechanical backup systems, exactly the kind of hybrid approach the orbital wrench had pioneered. Admiral Vale appeared behind them, his metallic skin now decorated with human-style engineering credentials. "The Academy wants this to be the new standard," he said. "Every ship in the galaxy will have both advanced AI repair systems and manual backup controls. Everyone finally understands. The best solution is not choosing between old and new, but combining them." The prototype ship docked smoothly, and its mixed crew of humans and aliens emerged. They all wore similar working clothes, practical outfits with lots of pockets for tools, the galaxy's new uniform for engineers. "You know what makes me proudest?" Tom said, watching the crew exchange greetings. "Look how they work together. No one cares anymore who has the most advanced technology. They just focus on getting the job done." Maria nodded toward another arrival, a small ship piloted by one of their first alien students. "He sent a message ahead. Found a new kind of engine damage out on the rim. Says it's something no one's ever seen before." Tom grinned. "Perfect. That's exactly what we need. New problems to solve, new things to learn." He turned to the group of trainee engineers who had gathered nearby. "Who wants to help figure this one out?" Hands and appendages of all kinds rose eagerly. This was what the orbital wrench had become famous for, not just fixing ships, but teaching everyone how to approach new challenges with both wisdom and creativity. The station's main workshop was soon filled with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, using everything from simple wrenches to quantum analyzers. They didn't see different species or competing technologies anymore. They just saw fellow engineers tackling interesting problems. "You know," Tom said to Maria as they watched the team's work, "someone asked me yesterday when we'll stop teaching the basics. When we'll finally just rely on advanced technology." He patted his trusty wrench. "I told them, hopefully never. Because the moment you think you're too advanced to learn from the past is the moment you stop moving forward." The station hummed with energy as another day of learning and repair work continued. Outside, Earth shone blue and peaceful, surrounded by repair stations that had become beacons of knowledge for the entire galaxy. Ships of all kinds waited patiently for their turn to dock, not just for repairs anymore, but to be part of something bigger, a revolution in how the galaxy thought about technology and progress. And at the heart of it all was one simple truth: that humanity's greatest gift to the stars wasn't advanced technology or powerful weapons, but something far more precious: the ability to look at any problem, no matter how complex, and find a way to fix it.